Welcome to the Project Management Prepcast, helping you prepare for the PMP exam. Here's your instructor, Cornelius Fichtner.
Hello and welcome to the Project Management Prepcast. Thanks to us, you don't have to give up all of your social life as you're getting ready to take the PMP exam. I'm your instructor, Cornelius Fichtner. In this lesson, we are going to take a look at all the knowledge, skills and tasks that PMI has defined as being part of the PMP exam for Domain 3, executing the project. And, as I have indicated in Domain 2, our learning goals remain the same. No need, therefore, to review them in detail. Same with this slide here, the focus of these PMP exam content videos hasn't changed either. We look at the top line, the processes and the many other lessons of the Prepcast, and right now we focus on content tasks, ethics and domain skills of the executing domain. So let's get going with the domain overview. In numbers, this domain is responsible for 30% of the questions that you are going to have to answer in your PMP exam. That makes it 60 questions. 30% out of 200, well, that's 60 questions. In the PMP exam content outline, PMI defines 6 tasks for this domain, and these are the 6 tasks that we're going to look at in detail. They also define 6 domain-specific skills that are needed specifically in the domain of executing your project, that you as a project manager have to know and therefore will be tested on the PMP exam. The focus of this domain is obviously on executing the project. In particular, you will find that we need to manage quality and we need to manage risk. They are called out specifically as part of the tasks, and you will also need to now lead the team. You need to become the project leader in this domain in order to move the project to a successful completion. And here are the 6 domain-specific knowledge and skills that PMI has defined in the PMP content outline. Just like in the first 2 domains, you will recognize these: project monitoring tools and techniques, elements of a statement of work, interaction of work breakdown structure elements with the project schedule, project budgeting tools and techniques, quality standard tools, and continuous improvement process. We look at these in other lessons here on the Prepcast, but we want to make sure that you see them here as part of this domain so that you know these are specifically called out by PMI as being part of the PMP exam, but we are not going to review them in detail. We are, however, going to review in detail the 6 tasks that PMI has defined for us, and we begin with, logically, task number 1. Here it is. Obtain and manage project resources, including outsourced deliverables, by following the procurement plan in order to ensure successful project execution. The PMBOK guide describes the project charter that provides the project manager with the authority to apply organizational resources to project activities. And this is what this first task here in execution is all about. You obtain and then apply the resources. You follow the project plan that you have defined in Domain 2. And by doing that, you will hopefully end up with a successful project. In this particular task, when we're dealing with resources, the Code of Ethics specifically mentions them in one of the 4 core values. It is in respect. So let's focus on respect and skip the others. In particular, we want to talk about mismanaging resources. The Code of Ethics says the following: respect is our duty to show a high regard for ourselves, others and the resources entrusted to us. Resources entrusted to us may include people, money, reputation, safety and natural or environmental resources. Our job is therefore to manage these resources well. In regards to people, we have to ensure that we treat the team members and other stakeholders the way that we want to be treated, and obviously we want to be treated well. Money. We have to ensure that we spend the money wisely and that there is no misappropriation of funds or spending it for illegal activities. Reputation. We have to ensure that our actions on the project don't lead to a loss of confidence by the customer. And safety. Here we make certain that all project team members can work in a safe environment and that project deliverables will not harm the user, natural or environmental resources. We minimize the negative impact that our project has on the environment. Here is the second task. Execute the tasks as defined in the project plan in order to achieve the project deliverables within budget and schedule. If you analyze this task and ask yourself, what is it really telling me to do? Then you will realize that this task simply says, go ahead, do the project. Do the project by working the plan that you have set up. Execute one task after another until they are all complete and the end of the project is reached. And by the way, while you are doing this, don't forget to constantly monitor your dollars, your budget, and the clock, your schedule. And if you think about it, this is really a huge task. This includes everything that you need to do in order to complete the project. And because this is such a big and all-encompassing task, you can easily see that every single one of our 4 core values from the Code of Ethics will be touched. Here are a few ideas. First of all, responsibility. Many of us project managers often have more than one project assigned to us. So you can either do your project work half-heartedly because you have to work 5 projects at the same time, or you could live up to your responsibility as a project manager and tell your boss that you need to be freed from your responsibilities on one or more project in order to be able to complete your work to everybody's satisfaction. We'll skip the second bullet point here, consequences. We'll come back to that at the very end of this ethics review here. Trust me. The second item is respect. Trust is a big part of respect, according to the Code of Ethics. So if you don't trust your team members to do their work properly, you could easily become a micromanager. And quite clearly, a micromanager does not show the respect that is due to the people on the team. Fairness is next. Discrimination is explicitly mentioned in the code as part of the fairness. So if you have 2 people to do a particular job and you select one over the other because he or she has the nicer hair color, well, then you have just acted unfairly. And last but not least, honesty. As a project manager, your stakeholders, and especially your sponsors and customers who receive regular status information from you, expect this information to be truthful and accurate. So don't fall prey to withholding inconvenient project information, spinning earned value data so that it tells a slightly different and better story, or telling white lies. Report accurately and deal with the consequences. And this takes us back. Dealing with the consequences takes us back to the first item here, responsibility. Because dealing with consequences from our actions or inactions is part of our responsibility. This is explicitly mentioned in the Code of Ethics. At this point, you could say to yourself, wait a minute, in task 1, we got all our resources. We hired them, we brought them on board. In task 2, we were then told to do the project. Well, that should really be it, shouldn't it? I mean, what else could there possibly be on the PMP exam to test for us in the execution domain? These 2 tasks, they cover the whole project, right? Well, yeah, right. But in the role delineation study, which formed the basis for what it is that PMI tests on the exam, there were 4 additional areas that were identified as being important. So we have a total of 6 tasks. And these 6 tasks are all an important part of what a project manager does during project execution. That is why we not only have the 2 tasks that we have seen, but instead we have 6. So at the center, quite clearly, is task 2. Do the project. Do it. Then on the side, we have task 1, where we dealt with the resources, bringing them on. We also have task 3, where we deal with quality. Task 4, where we deal with changes. Task 5, where we look at the risk. And underlying all of this, we have task 6, where we deal with team development. We're now going to take task 3, 4 and 5, review them and do the ethics and the interpretation together. So let's begin with tasks 3, 4 and 5 with the actual text here. Beginning with task 3. It says, implement the quality management plan using the appropriate tools and techniques in order to ensure that work is being performed according to required quality standards. In task 4, PMI wants us to implement approved changes according to the change management plan in order to meet project requirements. And in task 5, we implement approved actions, that is to say workarounds, by following the risk management plan in order to minimize the impact of the risks on the project. So what do these 3 tasks mean for us as project managers who are preparing for the PMP exam? Well, frankly, these 3 tasks are simply the appropriate sections of the PMBOK guide condensed into 1 sentence for each. Nothing surprising here. Quality means that we are going to meet explicit and implicit customer expectations, and in doing so, we will satisfy their needs. In regards to changes, well, how many times have you heard me talk about scope creep and the fact that all change requests have to be processed via the integrated change control system? So we have task 4 here in order to avoid scope creep. And each risk that we have on our project is a possible failure point for us. By properly managing risk, we can hopefully avoid them and ensure project success. And when it comes to ethics, here is one example for each task of how you could do a thing in an unethical way. In regards to quality, the respect value of the Code of Ethics lends itself nicely to an example in quality, because quality is conformance to the stakeholders' requirements. If we don't uphold the quality standards in our project, this means that we are disrespectful to the quality needs of our stakeholders. In regards to changes, when we implement a project, it means that your customers and end users, they will inevitably give you change requests. That is simply the nature of our work. Change happens. In order to be fair, we have to have a clear change management process implemented, and each and every change request has to be handled the same way. It would be unacceptable if, for whatever reason, you knowingly ignored the change requests from one person and didn't process them. And for task 5, let's take a look at the responsibility value. In particular, at the statement that when we make errors or omissions, we take ownership and make corrections promptly. That comes straight from the Code of Ethics. In the area of risk management, it is easy to let things slip, and then quite easily a small problem explodes and hits the project hard. Therefore, be a proactive project manager to avoid this situation. And as you can imagine, the number of possible examples for unethical behavior in these 3 tasks can be sheer endless. Before we looked at tasks 3, 4 and 5, I showed you an overview slide. And remember, all the tasks at the top, they were orange. We've looked at those now, and now we're moving to the task that was at the very bottom. It was sort of a bluish. And that's task 6 here. Maximize team performance through leading, mentoring, training and motivating team members. While the task here doesn't specifically mention it, a well-oiled and well-functioning project team is the underlying foundation for project success. Only a high-performing team will be able to do the work that you need them to do, and it's your job to take them there. And you take them there by leading them through the 5 team development stages as they are defined in the Tuckman model. They are forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjourning. And once again, we come back to the fact that there is a big difference between a project manager and a project leader. The project manager is the administrator of the project. The project leader, on the other hand, is the person who motivates all stakeholders to pull together and deliver this project for the benefit of the company. Your goal should be to be a project leader. And in this final task of the executing domain, we are dealing with people. So let's look at respect and fairness from the Code of Ethics. In respect, you are the leader of the project team. You represent them. Unfortunately, on a project, it often happens that schedule priorities are valued higher than team health. It's okay to temporarily ask your team to work overtime in order to reach a milestone or make up for lost time. However, this cannot be the norm. So if your sponsors squeeze the schedule so much that it means constant overtime and constant pressure for the team, then you risk their ability to perform. You have to stand up and defend the team against outsiders who want to rob them of their right to recover and replenish their batteries. The second one we want to look at is fairness, and this one is really simple and straightforward. Don't play favoritism in your team. Treat everyone the same. And that's it. We have reviewed all 6 tasks for Domain 3, executing the project. Here they are again. We begin by obtaining and managing our resources. Then we execute all the tasks from the project plan. And this is where I said, oh, isn't this it? Shouldn't this be the end of it? No, because in the PMP exam content outline, they identified 4 additional areas of importance, and they are implementing of the quality plan, implementing your change management system, implementing actions, which is risk-based, and also ensuring that you can maximize team performance. And that's it for Domain 3, executing the project. Until next time.